Okay, I'm just video. Since this is a video discussing the history of playing emergency response to the economy. I haven't made a video in so here discussing the so I first started playing emergency response of the economy sometime before March 18th, 2021. I found this out when I was checking out my badges because there's no "you joined" badge. Simply I checked my veteran badge for playing for at least 12 hours, which I got that on March 18th, 2021. Which, when the veteran badge being you playing at least 12 hours, a comparison to now, of 613 hours in erlc, not as much as Terraria, 100 hours plus in Terraria, but I've definitely been playing this game a lot more than Terraria recently. So, that started everything off. Started playing emergency response of the economy in the early days. Didn't really have any vehicles. I started out as a civilian. I never drove a car because I was a bit too scared to ever drive. I was scared of accidentally running traffic laws and then just getting run to the park for me. Was really poor and also at the time. So during that point, what I do is that I'd go on public servers for like the very first time, and then very shortly after I started playing, I decided to buy my own private server, which is the server I'm playing on now, which I mostly use for testing, but I did have an attempt at getting it popular, but I had everything set up, no custom liberties, didn't have the things, this named, had it all set up, and this server would come to be my basic testing place for. I remember the green building that I'd hide in a lot. I remember one time, actually I should probably give some more context. I had a pure addiction to playing inside of private servers just because it was so deliberate. The roleplay was just something. So I just pretty much play in private servers. Which, around that time, was the first time I called mod, because I was in a server where there was no 4K, somebody to get a 4K on me. So I called mod, wasn't able to identify, but after some time, that would be the first time I'd ever been only once in a private server. I decided that I was going to switch over to public servers, which then only I'd become a public server fire department owner, which, as you can see, between KXP kind of shows that I play fire department all the time. The bullhorn command server is my favorite just because of how balanced it is. Definitely gotten a lot of time played. So there's that at the beginning stages. Then I'd move on to being a policeman. What I do is that I had the detective game pass, and at some point I found out how to remove all the cruise lights, so I'd be able to roll around and cruise, and I'd just troll around. I'd never be armed. I'd just drive around and do my thing. But that was around the point where I called a hacker a lot of times. And then the Summer Update 22 came out. This is Summer Update 22. Summers before that time, I decided to try to drive the first time. I would drive the classic starter car. I was scared, so I just stopped driving. Until nowadays, where I know how to drive, I use turn signals with exotics. Oh my god, most real thing. Until eventually I was getting more and more cars. Oh, it's a car I really want, but this is a private server. Oh my god. Yeah, I'll just buy it here because it just doesn't save in private servers, so I don't have access to this car. Okay, there we go. I'll turn on the lights. This car is pretty nice. I want to see what it looks like with the design. I want to see what it looks like with the clothes and stuff that I wanted whenever I get it. That'd be cool, but... Anyways, as I was saying, I want to see what car that I would like for the most. Yes. Cadet blue thing. Definitely gonna go for a cadet blue. Green color. White one, it's very nice as usual. Okay, so once I get the finest vehicle on sale in the public server, I'll definitely be able to buy this and set the stage, as it's a really nice car. Actually, I'm gonna turn on the volume. What does this vehicle sound like? So it has decent acceleration, really nice. I'm just gonna use this. I'm in a private server right now. Private server to be exact. Jesus, I need to learn how to drive and skating. Well, this car probably gonna be my favorite basic vehicle, besides GTR Super and G-Wagon. So sometime around there, I start to get a bit set up with certain things. So around this time, I was really going for an exotic. I always wanted an exotic. I couldn't resist getting an exotic. So I just wanted an exotic. At that point, I had like $2.3 million in game. So what I did is I was searching around, and eventually I found a blue Bugatti on sale around right here. And of course, with the cash I had, I bought it. I was happy I finally had my first exotic vehicle, and pretty much loved it. Rode around all the time. Which this falls into later, where nowadays I don't really use it. Then after that, I found a GTR around in a similar place. So I was looking at. Then I bought a McLaren that was on sale. Then I get to the Corvette C8, then the Acura, and then at one time I bought the Audi, and then at the last thing I bought both the Corvettes, the Corvette C1 and the Ford GT. Most of the time I use either the Corvette C1, the McLaren, Audi, sometimes this, but I really never use my Acura or the Bugatti. I remember buying this vehicle and I was so hyped. Never really use it anymore. Which is kind of sad. It's just a vehicle. Then, this is moving. I finally got Commander Link. I finally got Commander Link. Well, I got Commander Link around the time the Mobile Command Center was released. Yeah, so they used Mobile Command Center like a few times, and I was like, this is nice. I used it like very rarely, but most of the time I'd use my Dodge Charger Hellcat, which is fun. But then there was the day that I participated inside of the New Year's event for 2022, and I was hyped. But then there was the 2023 Lunar New Year's event. That was the update that got me hyped the most. Which, from that update, they added the 2022, the 2022 Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat, which I used it at first. I was so hyped to find a nice car to use, and I used it. I was checking out its top speed, and then I realized, holy god, this thing is overpowered, which at that time I had Commander rank, and I'm pretty sure it was free at Lieutenant. Which for a free Lieutenant card, which only requires 4,000 XP, at the time I only had like 26k XP. I used it and I was like, this vehicle's OP, and completely forgot about the Lieutenant thing and it being free, so I used it until I remembered it was a Lieutenant card, which is so early on. Like, most of the cops that you can find, most of the cops that you can find that have normally use it, although the vehicle is heavily underrated because because there's a massive group of brainless individuals, also known as every single police corvette player in existence, that isn't toxic. That isn't toxic. Well, no, because I just realized every police corvette player that is toxic, and most of the other ones. Basically, any police corvette player that completely ignores you, get mad about you saying that police corvette is trash, which it is. Like the 1.1 second slower acceleration, 0 to 60. Just isn't worth it for losing over 20 miles per hour, and it not looking as nice, losing a bunch of suspension, a bunch of turning power at top speed. Just isn't worth it. Around this time I was getting more involved in the community. And at the point, I was just purely addicted to emergency response for the community. Even though I have pretty much everything I've always wanted, I just didn't know what to do. So, due to it being like a live game and not like, it has infinite replayability because there's really no ending to the game. So there that is a brief explanation, a 14-minute explanation of explaining my life in erlc. Would have explained a bit more, but because of how not growing my channel is, how new, weak, and unpopular it is. Can't really go over 15 minutes. That's pretty much it, nothing else to say. Hopefully, this will take me towards a path to becoming more popular on the internet. See ya.